With over 15 years of experience, he's worked on animation and VFX projects for top brands, artists, films, and TV shows across the U.S. And today, he continues to lead creative projects at Made by Things. And I would add, he's also got a lot of side gigs going on too, side ideas. So come on up, Matt. Everybody welcome in.
Hey, thanks everybody. You guys can hear me good? Perfect. All right. So yeah, as you said, founder of a animation studio called Made by Things. Dad to 4 kids, 2 dogs. I was gonna say 4 and 2. That wouldn't make any sense at all. Husband, and I think one of the important roles is leader on my team. This is kind of I just needed to show this as proof that I've been wearing a hat like every day since I was 12. Go Guardians, 3-1. It's not looking good right now, but we'll see. It was around this age though where I became kind of obsessed with the idea of art and creativity and making stuff, making videos. It all kind of started with this bike right here. I would make little animations with it, have my dad take a bunch of photos and make like little stop motion things occasionally. Anyway, let's stop looking at that kid for a bit. I guess fast forward a lot through my story, that kind of obsession with my craft basically led me to Hollywood, where I worked on visual effects for Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Whiplash, Katy Perry, Wide Awake video. There's probably 100 different things, but these are probably the most notable ones. It's kind of like this dream come true moment, right? When I was that 12-year-old kid, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in Hollywood. I wanted to do these things. And once I was able to do those things, it kind of became a little bit more important to focus a little bit more on my family at that point. As soon as my son was born, this is him at about, I think a month old, maybe 2 months old. This was our actual trip from Los Angeles to Columbus. The intention was, let's be somewhere where I felt like I can actually be a part of my family, as well as a place that I can start my business. I'm just gonna make you guys just go, oh, at every one of these. I basically just went through Instagram and I'm like, all right, let's find the best one. Everything was moving very quickly at that point. The business was growing and so was the family. During my wife's 3rd pregnancy, we had a feeling that something wasn't right. It was tough to really explain it to anybody. When she tried to explain it to doctors, they said, well, everything looks fine. But I think that the 2 of us definitely knew that something was just not right. Her water broke about 2 months early. And even still through that, we decided to just ignore the fact that that's very premature. And I don't know, just try to find a way to be excited about the whole experience again, right? It's something we've done a couple times already. We kind of pros at it, I guess, at this point. This photo right here, though, this was probably the last time I would smile for a few days. As soon as my daughter was born, we were so excited for about 8 seconds. At that point, we knew, again, something wasn't right. Doctors are running around. It just, I don't know, we couldn't even really ask questions because everyone was busy doing something. Truthfully, it was kind of incredible I don't know, in the moment it kind of felt like, this is not part of my talk at all, but like in the moment it felt like a performance, and one that was just really well planned and well executed. And felt like I was almost a spectator in the whole thing. And it kind of was like this dreamlike thing. This is the middle of the night, basically, that it was. And there's just a moment there where you're like, this isn't real. Like, we've done this before. This is not real. And yes, so our suspicions were true. And again, truthfully, to this day, we don't know exactly what the problem was. And that's a really hard thing to come to terms with. When you're in those situations, you always want an answer of some kind. You always want to know that, like, oh, I could have prevented it, or I don't know, just a name to it makes a world of difference. And it doesn't make any sense, but that's just kind of how it was. What's going on over there? Ultimately, we got to spend 10 days with our daughter. And the hardest 10 days of my life, easily. But we still managed to find joy with her in that time. We still were able to read to her. Her brothers were able to sing to her. It was tough. And after 10 days, she ended up passing away. Driving home from the hospital that last time, we lived about 5 miles away from the hospital, but I remember still every probably few hundred feet of that drive. It felt like it was an hour to go back home. We didn't say anything to each other. There was kind of, I don't know, we were just left with our thoughts at that moment. But I do remember one of the things that I was thinking of is, how do I ever go back to just making stuff, making advertisements, making stuff like that for other people, right? It just didn't make any sense. As somebody that at the age of 12 committed and dedicated himself to that craft, that was a really tough part, a tough realization in that moment. A couple months later, we were, not only did me and my wife have to deal with our grief, we also had to help a 4- and a 2-year-old understand what just happened as well, and help them try to navigate their grief as well. And we told my oldest son that she is in heaven. And I don't know exactly how this idea came to be. I'm pretty sure he mentioned something along these lines of, we should tie a message to a balloon and let it go to the sky. So we did it. And that's the photos of that. While we were sort of processing this, a really interesting thing happened where people didn't want to talk to us about it. They thought that they were going to make us more sad somehow, that we weren't thinking about it constantly every single day. It actually, was kind of nice talking about it with people. You could tell what everyone was thinking when you're talking about something that's meaningless like the weather, but you can see exactly what they're afraid to talk about. And I guess it was in that moment where I realized that I had something to say. So I wrote this story right here. You don't have to read this as long. I couldn't stop thinking about, how do I share this story? How do I find a way to get back to the thing that I love to do? I love to make stuff. And this was about a year later where I don't remember anything, honestly. In that year that I know that we did projects, we made some money, but I don't remember a whole lot of what we actually made. So for me in this process, this was the start of what I hope to be this healing process. And if you guys don't mind, I want to play it for you real quick. Yeah, that's kind of a look at what that premiere looked like. Yeah. A couple months later, we ended up being selected to be in the Cleveland International Film Festival. Probably one of the biggest kind of honors, I feel like, maybe awards that I've ever gotten. Unfortunately, it was like April of 2020 is when that was going to show, and that didn't work out super well for anybody. But the coolest thing that came about this is the conversations that it created with the amount of people that come up to me and share their story. And I wasn't prepared for that, but man, I'm so glad that if that's how this worked out, sorry, it's like a good spot to stand or something, I don't know. Yeah. As of today, Madeline shows up in every single thing that we make. Clients don't usually know, but she does. And I don't know, it's sort of like she left with that gift for me of, I don't know, story. An understanding of what I need to be doing. Truthfully, visual effects on like big films and stuff like that means nothing to me right now. It was cool in the moment, but this stuff up here where I can find a way to put her or my other kids into the work that we're doing, that means so much more. And yeah, thank you all for listening. Hopefully that wasn't too
sad. First off, Matt, I want to start by thanking you for being so transparent and open with us about your story. I know you've probably shared this presentation or something like it multiple times, but I don't know if it gets any easier, and but people need to hear it. And I know a lot of people, thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands, I don't know, have been touched by the idea or your story in particular. So I know a lot of us are really grateful for your openness to share with us today. As questions are filling in, I wanted to start by reflecting on how much hope and remembrance you were able to inject into your story and even how you worked with a team to pull the story into a visual medium. Was there any moment along the journey where either you or your wife felt you got a word from God or an encouragement or a scripture that changed your thinking about what's going on, where am I at, where am I in life's journey?
I think that's a great question. I guess let me first start by saying, like, no, this is not easy to talk about. It's very, very difficult to create this presentation. This is the first time I've talked about it like this, first time I've shared any of this kind of stuff. But like you said, I feel like it's important, especially just based on a lot of the things that I've heard other people say to me. And it's like, okay, this isn't just my story. This is a lot of people's story, right? And to be able to find hope, I mean, that was kind of the challenge in this grief, right? Where it's really easy to see what tragedy can do to a person, mentally and physically. And I don't know, I think if there was a message, it was, you need to process how you do things, right? Like in the work that you are creating, you need to process through that. I think that was truly the only way. Like that was, once we released that at that premiere, that it was such a weight lifted off of me in that moment. Now, it's not something that goes away. Like that's the thing with things like grief and anxiety. Those things don't go away. What you do is you learn to live with them. You learn how to weave it through your own life. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
it definitely does. Yes, thank you. We're starting to get some questions rolling in, and I'm seeing 2 or 3 along the theme of struggling with anger, doubt, resentment toward God, toward circumstance. And did you, the one question I thought was really meaningful, did you feel angry with God, or was it more grief? How did you work through that?
I don't know if it was necessarily an anger. There's definitely those moments where it doesn't, I mean, you don't get through something like this without being angry, right? But I think that those moments truly, with both me and my wife, I guess another part of this is when you go through things like this, you can also see why it pulls partners apart or pushes them apart, right? It's very, very easy to do. And even in a situation like this, there was so much guilt. There was probably more guilt than anger, because why didn't we see this? Like, we knew, right? And I don't know, it's just, you kind of just do your best. And I mean, that's all we're all trying to do, right? Is just our best. And in that moment, I think we both knew that we needed to be completely different for each other. Like, our relationship and that drive home completely changed from that day forward. It had to. Again, like, you can't just ignore this. You have to find ways to lean into all of these things and have conversations like that. And, not to say that, like, I have the best relationship in the world, whatever. I'm not a love expert or anything. But it was in that moment right there where I realized, okay, we know what we have to be for each other. And yeah, again, not sure if that answers.
Yeah. I think it does. I think a lot of people live in ignorance that, like, things are going to go back to normal. No, the new normal is different. And so that's really meaningful. All right, well, I have hit my time. Thank you so much, Matt. Everybody give him a round of applause.